Hey everybody, it's me, Calvin Benson. And welcome back to my big ranking of every single movie I've seen that's released in the year 2024. This is one big video, and in order for it not to take too long to get it out there, I've split it into parts. This is part 5, and the previous parts are, if you want to watch them, in the description. So no more yapping. Here are the next tiers in the Ultimate 2024 movie ranking. Let's just start it. And next up, in 39th place, I have The Watchers, a horror movie from Night Shyamalan. Yes, the daughter of M. Night Shyamalan. I actually used to be a big hater of M. Night Shyamalan, never as a person, but just his movies. Probably because I'd really only seen Avatar: The Last Airbender and most of The Happening, so I didn't think of him as a good director. But then I started watching more of his films, like Knock at the Cabin and Signs, and I got it. His movies are so creative, so passionate, so stylized, and just different kinds of film. But the reason I'm talking about M. Night Shyamalan movies so much is that a very similar thing can be said about this movie, in that if you look at it as a regular horror movie, you probably wouldn't like it. But when you get immersed and accept the different filmmaking choices and stylizations, you get it. This is one weird-ass film, and I love it. Just the premise of people trapped in this one room in the forest, with creatures watching them every night, is just excellent. It's so creepy, just to be stuck in this one place, and you're completely surrounded by these unknown monsters, where if you step a foot outside, you're killed. Plus, adding on this layer of mystery, why is this place here? How did the other people in the room get there? Who are the monsters? It just makes for a great film. But where the movie takes a big turn is when they reveal who the monsters are. And spoiler alert, they are fairies from ancient times, where a war between humans and fairies happened, and the fairies were buried underground for thousands of years, and are only now coming back. Surprisingly, the fairies are handled well. It doesn't really feel goofy. The designs for the fairies is actually really good. They don't really have a form. Instead, they take shape as the people they see. They're trying to give themselves a form to take, to re-enter the world. And that's why they were watching the people, to use them as a base to model themselves after. That is just the most creative idea possible for evil fairies. The movie is held back in some aspects. The acting can be less than ideal sometimes, really down to some stuff sounding great on paper, but the actual way it's spoken sounding clunky and forced. And they skip past a lot of character development before getting to the true narrative. The main character gets basically no development before she's chucked into the main plot. But again, these quirks are what make the movie unique. They take some bold swings with the plot, and I liked it. This movie just has an excellent premise, really creative directing, and for a feature film debut, it's a very good horror film. And next, in 38th place, I have Mean Girls. But this isn't a remake of the original Mean Girls. Instead, it's an adaptation of the Broadway musical. So it's a movie based on a musical based on a movie. And I don't know how, but this movie is better than the original. Yeah, I said it. To be fair, I do really like that first Mean Girls, but it has a lot of issues. But this movie just has so much style, and goes beyond just a remake of Mean Girls. This film is an actual modernization of the original story, not in a forced way either, actually working in the culture of the 2020s, the technology, the cultural depictions, pop culture. It's done so seamlessly, and it gives the movie its own identity. So much has changed about high school culture in the 21 years it's been since the first film. So this film instead captures the culture of today. Characters are changed, plotlines are changed, but for the betterment of the story. Speaking of which, this isn't just a regular Mean Girls, it's also a musical. So are the songs good? Well, I thought they were catchy enough. Like I said, all the ones with Regina George were great, but I haven't seen the Broadway play, so I can't really compare. I did especially like the songs Renee Rapp performed, probably because she was Regina in the musical, so she's already basically mastered singing these songs. Really, the musical numbers only add to the story, plus adding so much personality. Really, This movie was just so unique. It didn't just redo Mean Girls, it took the story beats and reshaped them, updating characters, having musical numbers that don't feel out of place, and best of all, doing the same thing the original did. And that is to send a message of camaraderie in a movie that perfectly captures its era. And next up, in 37th place, I have Abigail. Now, I was super excited for this movie to come out for one reason. It was being made by Radio Silence. Radio Silence is the name of a group of writers who have made some of the best horror films of the last few years, like Ready or Not and Scream 5 and Scream 6. Specifically, those recent Scream movies have been my favorite movies in the horror genre. And then, I heard they were not only making a new original movie, but it would be about vampires with Melissa Barrera, the star of the two most recent Scream movies, starring in this film. So I was very much looking forward to it. And it ain't the next Scream, but as its own little vampire movie, it's really great. The best part of the movie is the ensemble of characters. Everyone is cast perfectly. Sure, there were some members of the heist team that were just there to be killed off, but the main cast was great. There's a certain scene, before all the vampire shit goes down, where this cast of characters are just hanging out in a bar, and they all talk about their backstory. It adds another layer of depth onto what would be basic archetypes, like Melissa Barrera's character, Sam. She was a drug addict. And that even adds a metaphor with the vampires biting into you and draining your life, a parallel with drugs. And Melissa Barrera did so well in those small scenes, it made for someone to really root for in the movie. Another great part of the movie is all the stuff revolving vampires. They add their own spin on the typical story of a vampire, with taking some strengths and weaknesses from vampire mythos, while creating their own lore and rules, new abilities, weaknesses, and coolest of all, the new vampire characters. Abigail just has such a fun personality. This ancient vampire just pretending to be a little girl, and killing people in one scene, and doing ballet with their corpse in another. And spoiler alert, Giancarlo Esposito is so amazing as a vampire. It's very fitting that a movie about vampires is such a bloodbath. Something so unique about this movie is the fusion of horror and comedy. There's a delicate balance between being comedic, while also keeping the scare factor. It's hard to get right, but that's what Radio Silence has always done great at. The movie does slightly lean towards comedy, and at some points can prioritize comedy more, so that's really why this isn't the perfect movie I wanted. Because it's much more in line with Ready or Not than it is Scream. But again, there's no topping Scream. That's like the best horror has got. Really, this movie is just a great little vampire movie. The world building, mixed with these great characters and good kills, makes this special. It ain't the best horror movie of the year, but it's still really good. And next, in 36th place, I have Kneecap, a movie about an Irish hip-hop band called Kneecap, based on a true story. I'm shocked I'm putting this so high on the list, cause like I said earlier, I'm not even a massive music fan. Why would I care about an Irish hip-hop band's biopic? But unlike all these other musician biopics, this doesn't go for the typical dark, serious style. In fact, this is basically not even a biopic. It's really just based on a true story. This band, Kneecap, is all in the Irish language, an endangered language on the brink of being wiped out, with the UK government supporting its demise so Ireland loses more of its identity and just becomes the Queen's English. So some random people, a school teacher and two buddies, team up to make a band and use music to fight back by making hip-hop in the Irish language. Hip-hop was the voice for people of color to fight oppression, so why can't it do the same for the Irish? This movie just shows the power music can have, especially against oppression. The songs performed not only are written criticizing the UK, but the songs themselves are in Irish, showing that the language isn't dead. It's the same genre, just across the pond, and with the same purpose, to give a voice, with the voice being the Irish language. Even when they're attempting to be silenced, losing jobs, angering family, government intimidation, they persist. And I just love that kind of story. The movie captures the heart of the band, and the heart of the music. This shows the meaning of hip-hop, why that music genre is so powerful, how it's used as protest, to revolt on the people trying to erase your culture, by using the culture itself as a weapon, and also just reiterates how the Brits are still a tumor on the world. And I want to mention, this movie is really funny. Some Irish-specific jokes went above my head, but this film just has a style, a vibe, an attitude present throughout it. This movie does the same thing the music does, to raise awareness. I wasn't even aware that Irish was an endangered language, but I do now. The film just feels like it encompasses the meaning of the band, the meaning behind the music, and I forgot to mention, the band members play themselves in the movie. This is a genuine, authentic movie that fights against depression in the funniest way possible. Really underrated. I highly recommend you go watch it. And next up, rocketing to 35th place, I have the thriller set in outer space, ISS. Now this movie, shocker, is about the ISS, but it's asking, what if World War III happened down on Earth, and America and Russia told their ISS astronauts to kill the other team, and take over the station? From the get-go, that's a golden premise. Space is scary enough, but having it be a tense thriller debating whether to kill people while the world is ending below is just horrifying. And it's such a good moral conundrum. It's the kind of movie to make you think, what would you do? The world is being destroyed right below you, and perhaps the last mission you'll ever have is to kill these crew members. But they are your friends. You've spent so much time with them. You're astronauts, professionals. Are you going to resort to violence and kill your colleagues and friends? It poses such an interesting idea. Does patriotism for your country end at a point, even when you've been serving your country your whole life? The film is just really politically relevant. How this hunger for power has destroyed the world, and it might just destroy this ship. And the middle chunk of the movie is just spent in tension. Both the Russians and Americans know what they have to do. They're still deciding whether to actually do it, trying to decipher what the other people are going to do, and analyzing the situation like it's a whodunit, all while they cut back to the shots of the world ending, just outside their window. That's a different kind of horror, and it's scary. That's why I consider this a horror movie. This movie is packed with suspense and trying to predict what's going to happen next. And it shows the scariness of being in space, trapped with people that might kill you, while also showing the humanity of everyone on board. For a movie that released in January, this is excellent. And not only that, but important to modern day. Not much more to say. And next up, in 34th place, I have Trap, the latest film from M. Night Shyamalan. Now I mentioned in my Watchers segment how I've done a complete 180 on M. Night Shyamalan. I used to not be a fan of his works, but as of recent, after watching some of his other films, I finally understood why he's so popular as a director. He got that magic, so I was actually looking forward to this new film from him. And this was the movie that really solidified that yeah, this is a pretty creative guy. And yeah, this film is just really well-made thriller fun. The idea is a dad is taking his daughter to a concert, but turns out it's a trap where nobody can leave. And it's so they can catch a serial killer, who just so happens to be the main character. Already, that's a cool twist. Having it be from the perspective of the evilest character in the movie. And it's him trying to get out. That is a Shyamalan idea. But to have a main character be so hateable is hard, because he also needs to still be watchable, which he certainly is. Josh Hartnett is so good as the lead, as this serial killer pretending to be a normal father. He plays all the sides of this man so well. In one scene, he's completely viable as a regular suburban dad, and in the next, he's a soulless sadistic murderer, and the next, he's a genius mastermind. They do not hold back on showing that even if he has some love for his family, don't let that fool you. He's an irredeemable monster. He has no soul, only the veil of one. The concert setting as well didn't just feel like set dressing. The movie feels kind of built around the concert, and the whole scale and culture of it. Something I didn't expect was that they just captured the concert experience, the true scale of an event like that, the intensity of the music, getting all the merchandise. It's really cool to pay respect to concerts in this movie of all things. Where the movie does kind of mess up is with the last chunk of the movie that leaves the concert. Because, after Cooper, the killer, finds a sneaky way to escape the concert, the movie just kinda devolves into twist after twist. Yeah, Shyamalan is known for his twists, but it feels like for this movie, he saw that people didn't like his big twists, so he just said, "Alright, I won't do one big twist, how about 12 mini twists?" Most of the twists are just, "We caught him, oops, turns out he outsmarted us and got away." But there are a few big ones, like with his wife being the person to tip off the police that he would be at the concert, and later, turns out that the detective searching for the killer the whole movie was actually Cooper's mom, who also already knew he was a killer. Sure, alright. I actually kinda like those twists, mostly because they're actually adding to the story instead of shock value. It's a good improvement of the Shyamalan style. Overall, this is a great thriller, with a great setting, and a great and complex character to follow. I see why people hate this movie, but in my opinion, Shyamalan has a style that either works for someone or doesn't. And for me, it works. And with that, that's gonna be the end of this section of the ranking. I hope you enjoyed watching it. And I also hope you'll stick around for the next parts. And trust me, it's gonna get a lot more interesting as to what films show up how high on the list. So hopefully I'll see you later, but at least for this video, I'm Calvin Minson, and thank you for watching.